The king protea is the standard bearer for the Proteaceae family in southern Africa, a group defined by high biodiversity and complex woody floral structures. The genus Leucadendron is the largest within this family, containing 84 species documented across the region by the start of the 21st century. In March 2001, a field expedition in the Riviersonderend Mountains located a single population that did not match any of those known records. It was eventually described as Leucadendron immoderatum. This distribution map shows the extreme microendemism of the find. The species exists on only one high-altitude saddle, roughly 1,300 meters above sea level, between the Doring and Witta rivers. The initial survey located fewer than 20 mature adults at this site, making it one of the rarest plants in the genus immediately upon discovery. This level of geographical isolation, combined with a tiny gene pool, provides the specific environmental constraints that drive anomalous evolutionary adaptations. These field photographs show an adult plant deviating sharply from standard Leucadendron habit. At ground level, it forms a dense mat under 0.7 meters tall. Protruding from the space are multiple thick, woody branches, growing vertically, remaining entirely bare until reaching the apex. The silhouette is so disjointed that it appears as though two different growth forms from different genera have been fused together. Mapping the survival strategy of this species requires an anatomical breakdown of these two distinct branch systems. Leucadendron immoderatum employs dimorphic growth, meaning it maintains two independent body plans with different functional roles. Phase 1 is the basal mac, shown in panel D. This system is highly branched and grows slowly. The leaves here in panel E are acicular-terete, essentially needles, designed for persistence and moisture retention in a high-altitude, wind-swept environment. Phase 2 consists of the reproductive shoots, seen in panel A. Following a different metabolic clock, these shoots elongate by over 500 millimeters in a single year, leaving lower sections bare. At the top, broad, flat leaves suddenly emerge to protect the reproductive cones. This vertical sprint lifts the cones above the competing mountain Fynbos, ensuring they have a clear path for seed dispersal and better visibility for pollinators. The dimorphism represents a divided economy. The basal mat secures the plant's immediate survival, while the rapid shoots secure its next generation. At the top of these reproductive shoots, the plant develops a unique armor. Panel B shows the inflorescence bud entirely encased in an involucra. These massive, conic-acute bracts, up to 55 millimeters long, create a total seal around the developing flowers. This complete enclosure is rare for the genus, a trait typically seen in proteas, which require high levels of structural protection during maturation. These bracts are caducous, meaning they fall away at anthesis. As the flowers open, the plant discards the protective scales entirely. Dropping this armor exposes the nectar and pollen to the scarab beetles and flies that inhabit these high-altitude saddles, facilitating cross-pollination. The plant allocates significant biological resources to this temporary vault to ensure its single most important investment, its seeds, reaches maturity. This specific anatomy is an adaptation to the primary ecological driver of the region, the frequent, intense fires that define the Cape floristic ecosystem. Leucadendron Immoderatum is a ceratonous, non-lignotuberous seed regenerator. Because it does not have a lignotuber, it cannot resprout from its roots. When a fire occurs, every adult in the population dies. Survival is managed strictly through the seed bank. Using data from the related Cerurea candicans as a proxy, we can track the recovery timeline. 1 year after the fire, there is no regrowth from adult plants. The population exists only as seeds that were stored in the canopy and released by the flames. Seedling development is a slow process. It takes 3 to 5 years before a young plant can begin to produce its first flowers. The vertical growth bursts compress this timeline. The plant must produce a new seed bank as quickly as possible before the next fire returns. The entire morphology is a high-risk gamble on the interval between mountain fires. This scrolling list of related species from the SAN-B database shows that Leucadendron Immoderatum is part of a larger trend of vulnerability within the Proteaceae family. The majority of these species are now classified as vulnerable, endangered, or critically endangered. The danger is the intersection of microendemism and serotiny. When a species lives in only one spot and relies entirely on fire-released seeds, its survival depends on a predictable fire cycle. Climate change and increased human presence are now causing fires to burn more frequently than they did historically. If a second fire returns before the seedlings have reached maturity, the species is wiped out before it can replenish its seed bank. This is the mechanism of permanent extinction. Specialization, which once made these plants successful in their specific niche, has become their primary biological weakness in a changing environment. Leucadendron Immoderatum remains restricted to its single mountain saddle, where it faces a constantly shrinking margin for survival. Its dimorphic body plans and armored buds are highly efficient solutions for a stable environment, but they provide no defense against a rapid increase in fire frequency. With fewer than 20 adults documented, there is no redundant population to act as a safeguard against a local catastrophe. Species with such narrow requirements function as barometers for the health of the entire Cape Floristic region. Protecting them requires more than simple habitat preservation. It requires the active management of fire cycles across the mountain ranges. The highest levels of evolutionary specialization often create the greatest vulnerabilities. Success in a single, narrow niche leaves no room for environmental change.